Are you feeling stuck in life? Are you exhausted and burnt out, but don't know how to make a change? Are you ready to center rest and create your dream life? If so, you're in the right place. Welcome to my channel, everyone. My name is Marissa Price. I'm a Black woman social worker, healer, and educator dedicated to creating a safe space on the internet for Black women to share our experiences, heal collectively, share resources that we've gained so we don't have to start from scratch on these life transformation journeys that we're undergoing. But yes, please subscribe to my channel, like this video, and please comment below if it resonates with you. Today, I have a special guest with me, Keonna Knight, of Heal with Keonna on YouTube. I will pass it over to her to introduce herself.
Well, lovely. Hey, y'all. So, as she shared, I'm Keonna Knight, CEO of Heal with Keonna, and I'm a courage coach. My journey actually started while I was a teacher, and I was like, I want to help all my babies. I want to give everybody what they need, and I found myself burnt out. And then when I looked around to try to figure out, who supports us so that we can support other people? Like, who pours into the Black woman? Who pours into the change maker to make sure that we're okay while we're trying to give everybody every bit of us? And I couldn't find anyone. And so I'm a teacher. So I was like, oh, if it's not there, I'm going to have to figure it out for myself. And once I figure it out, I'm going to share with other people. So that's when I went, got my yoga teacher certification, got my training to be a therapist, mindfulness instructor certification. I was like, I want to get all the tools so I can figure out how, as a Black woman and a change maker, I can take care of myself while I'm taking care of my community and have the courage to do it boldly and to have balance and say no with no problem. Okay. Yes, with no problem. And once I gain those tools, I want to share with other Black women and change makers. And so I get to do it in one-on-one coaching, helping Black women say, I'm leaving that job, helping Black women say, I'm leaving that relationship. I'm creating a life that's in alignment with what I care about, who I actually am. I can say no with ease and guilt-free. And so supporting Black women and change makers, but also helping make workplace environments less toxic, more supportive, where our humanity is at the center. So that's partnering, speaking workshops with corporations, companies, nonprofit organizations, universities. I'm gonna need this to be safe for my people. And so I don't want you to have to come to me. You should already have the tools in place so that they're well. So I come in and I give them those tools to make sure their people are good. So those are the main things. Those are my jams. I love the one-on-one coaching so much, but I also love those speaking engagements where you can reach so many people and us collectively get excited about taking care of ourselves. There's nothing like it.
Yeah, and you said a few things that resonated, right? The power to say no, which is something I talk about on my channel. Like, as a recovering people pleaser, I think you mentioned this on your channel in the video I was watching too. Like, just being socialized to constantly say yes to everything that comes our way, right? So we don't really have the chance to develop a filter, right? What's getting through the filter and what's not, realizing that we have the power to do that. How were you able to start that healing process from people pleasing? Anything you'd like to share?
Well, I've experienced having boundaries that were completely stepped on, like just being a doormat to a point where I thought I was being nice. I thought I was protecting other people. I thought I was like making sure that they were good. And it got to the point where I found myself being hurt, physically hurt, emotionally hurt, drained, exhausted. And it was when I got to a point where I think I was in college, so it was a while back, and I was like, oh, girl, no. You are literally putting yourself in danger because you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. You're silencing and abandoning yourself because you don't want them to feel silenced and abandoned. You're doing to yourself what you don't want anyone else to experience. And so I'm big on, once I notice a thing, I've always been a coach. I was a little kid coaching my parents and coaching my friends. And so I always coach myself. And I'm like, boo-boo. Not anymore. So I went from not saying no at all to, and I think we all go through this experience. You start like saying, no, I don't have capacity. No. You know, you build up a thick wall because now I have to protect myself. So I started there in college, just building up this wall of like, I want to keep people at a distance because now I won't let you. You can't take my time. You can't take my energy. And then I was like, okay, girl, you're doing the most. You don't need to go that far. And
Yeah.
someone
Mhm.
described it like it's not a brick wall, it's a fence. You can still reach each other, but there's a barrier. So you can't reach all of me. You can't access all of me. Um, mhm. And I think that's the
Mm.
perfect image that I feel like once I really got into my work in 2019, so past college into my career, and I was like, okay, I have to figure out how I want to be in relationship with people where we can both care for each other and we can also love each other's boundaries. And so
Right.
it's just the practice of being like, I need to be vulnerable enough to tell people how I feel and what I need. I don't need to say no, like, no. I can be like, you know what? Thank you for coming to me. I appreciate the fact that you trust me enough to share what's on your heart with me. And I got to be honest, boo, I don't have it today. And that's enough.
Mm. Mhm.
And that's when it transformed my relationships because I wasn't just no, 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 no. I was like, I'm saying no to protect myself, but also so that you can trust me when I say yes.
Mhm. Ooh, I love that. So that you can trust me when I say yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Mhm. 'Cause that's something I've had to work through as a recovering people pleaser, right? Am I being honest and truthful, or am I operating from a trauma response that I had developed very early on? As a child, we know that people pleasing is a trauma response, right? You were often in an environment where you couldn't say no, where your no was met with hostility, often punishment from the people around you. So having to literally rewire those parts of your brain to be like, no, I'm an adult now. I take care of myself. I can say no to things, right? And I think you like said, saying no to what you don't want to do is saying yes to yourself. I think that's a powerful reframe too. Anything you want to share about that?
Mm. I will have to say so, and I'll probably share more about this. But when my grandmother passed away in 2020, she gave me permission. She said, "Live, LI,
Mm,
all capitals. Live. Don't do what I did. Don't put yourself last on your list. Don't try to be everything to everyone. Don't sacrifice yourself trying to save the world. I need you to live. I need you to heal. I need you to really focus on, okay, what type of life do you want to create?" Because she didn't have that opportunity. And I felt her
right.
like, boo, you my legacy. And so go do all the things that I didn't get
Mm,
a chance to do. And so saying yes, she gave me permission to say yes. Like I've traveled to Bali by myself, spent over 2 weeks there living it up, like being able to just have those experiences, leaving my career in mental health and saying, I don't want to be a teacher. I don't want to be a therapist. I don't want to be, I was working as a facilitation manager at a Black mental health organization. I don't want to do that. I don't want to work under people or in environments where I have back to back and I'm busy and I'm moving. I need to be well. I need to be healed. And I'm going to support other people in their healing from a healed place. So saying yes to me is literally, the permission that I got from my grandmother and the practice every day from building this business to deciding on some of my calls. I'm going to have my robe on and my deep condition in my hair with my towel on my head because I'm going to be myself for a living. I'm going to do it.
mm,
And if I couldn't do it with them, so I'm going to do
right.
it. I'm going to do it here in this life. And that's what I support my clients in doing. They're like, what do you value? And if this is what you value, let's make your life centered around those values and now what other people are telling you to do or who you feel like you're supposed to be.
That's
But
so important. That's
we
so
gonna
important.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, and can I ask, like, how did you begin to develop those values? Because I know Rashni Cope on her channel, Glamazini on YouTube, had this visual of like a conveyor belt, right? A lot of us are just put on this. We go through the steps that society tells us to do without really having a chance to develop our own identity, our
Mm-hmm.
own values in life. And so how were you able to be like, develop that sense for yourself?
Yeah, I would say I'm brave. I
Mm,
took 10
mhm.
after my grandmother passed. I took 10 months off, a 10-month sabbatical. I left teaching. I ended up on my mom's couch, and I was like, "This is gonna be the best 10 months of my life." It was. It was well, not that I've been way better since then.
Yeah.
But to that point, I felt so free because I had space to heal. And I gave myself permission to not care whether or not other people saw me as successful and focus on, well, who am I? Who am I if I'm not the helper? What do I care about?
Mm-hmm.
What does Keonna
Mm-hmm.
care about? I thought I had to be the person that made everybody happy and smile, and I'm the social butterfly. Now, okay, that's who I thought I was, but who am I actually? I actually love people, but I don't like a whole bunch of people, honestly. That's just not my vibe. I love an intimate group of people where we have deep conversations. I don't want the small talk. Like,
Mm-hmm. I'm the same
love,
way.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, I'm like, I love to skateboard. I love laughing. I love children more than I love adults, honestly, because they're gonna keep it real with you. And I was
That's
just
true.
like, and that's just who I am in this space, in this time. It can change in 10 years, in 20 years, it can change tomorrow. But just giving myself the space to say, this time is for you to figure it out. So I feel like I had a midlife crisis in my early 20s. And even though I was confused, I'm so grateful because it allowed me to have more wisdom, first as it relates to myself, but also as it relates to the world. Like I've been still, so I've had time to actually ask myself those important questions and answer them and get close to God to feel like, oh, I'm not alone. And I was created powerfully. I have authority. And so knowing that, knowing who I am, whose I am, I move
Mm-hmm.
with a different energy. And I'm forgetting what your question is at this point, but like, you know,
It's
yeah,
perfect. Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I don't remember what the question was, but yeah, I'm gonna end it there.
Yeah. And I think you touched on like generational healing, which I think is so important. A lot of us have the opportunity now to do things that previous generations didn't, like take a sabbatical,
Mhm,
right? Take time off of working, of laboring, so that you know who you are. You can rediscover those parts of
mhm.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to ask like the importance of that, realizing that we are representing not just ourselves as individuals, but like legacies of
Mm,
people who came before us who were not able to do these things now, and why that makes rest all the more important.
mhm.
Anything like that?
Yes, and exactly, and that was your question. You were talking about how did I get to that point of discovering what I value, and I realized, hey, I realized how much I value rest, how much I value freedom. And the more I talk to other Black women, we all value the same. A lot of majority of us value the same things. I
Mhm.
asked if you had 10 extra hours because in my work, I support my clients in getting 10 extra hours at least. And I said, what would you do? Majority of people said sleep, 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 rest, sleep, sleep, rest, rest, go travel, sleep, rest, rest. We tired. We tired.
Yes.
But not just
Mhm.
because we're tired. Our ancestors are tired. They have
Yeah.
already done enough. And now we're doing more and more and more. We're exhausted. Our souls are exhausted. We need a moment to be still to actually figure out like who do we want to be as a society, not just as an individual. We're collectively tired on purpose.
That's true. Mhm.
There's something we're all being called to. There's a reason why we're having this mass exodus from corporate environments because people are waking up to their power and waking up to their desire to live a life that's bolder and more authentic to who they are. So I think even when people say rest is not even just sleep. It's I want rest in how I move through the world. Like I want lightness in how I move through the world. And that's what I want to see more of us having rest and how we live, not just in those, not just in pockets, you know?
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah, and just like ancestral healing, right? The field of epigenetics, we carry a lot of the trauma that our ancestors experienced over generations in our DNA. And so having the opportunity to slow down, to ask ourselves who we are when that wasn't even afforded,
Mm,
right, to a lot of our ancestors,
mhm,
who were not even viewed as full human beings. And so
mhm,
we're having to like take that back. Like, no, we're human beings in need of rest. And we're not going to do whatever this person says, this entity. Like, we are beings beyond that, beyond this world.
mhm,
And I think that's so beautiful to see a lot of us on that path as well. Yes.
mhm, mhm.
I want to read a comment from Shanna. Shannon
Mm.
says, I was feeling stressed from work yesterday, so I called out and rested. I agree. I love that.
Yes.
Putting yourself first. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. That's a beautiful example of saying no to say yes to yourself, saying yes to
Mhm.
you, listening to your body.
Yes. Absolutely. But you mentioned travel. So I want to talk about that just a little bit, about your experience in Bali. I know that moving from Charlotte, which is where I originally was, to Guadalajara over the past year and a half has been transformative.
Mm.
And being outside of the US and seeing how society functions,
Yeah.
and a lot of things that had been normalized throughout my life when it came to rest, identity, all of these things, now having the opportunity to be away
Mm.
from that country with such deep traumatic roots has been
Mm.
transformative. So
Mm.
anything you'd like to share around that trip to Bali and other trips that you've had that have changed
Yeah.
your life?
I love that you're there, first of all.
Mm.
I love that. I love that.
Thank
I love that. I
you.
love that you had the courage to do that. Um,
Mhm.
I would say I'm gonna get to Bali, but my first actual time out of the country, I went to Guatemala when I was 18, and nobody in
Mm,
my family had really gone anywhere outside of the country. We didn't go on vacations, and
yeah.
I had friends who had traveled before they got older. The reason I was able to travel because I asked the board of directors at the Boys and Girls Club if they would pay for me to teach English in Guatemala, and I just happened to be charming enough for them to say yes. And so,
I love
um,
that.
going to another country at 18, that first opened my eyes that there is a whole other way of how people live. Like
Mhm.
even just seeing people, you walk outside the door, buenos dias, like the joy of I don't even know you, but you're my neighbor. That we're all in community together. That we're
Yeah.
protecting each other, and each other's stuff, and each other's children. People like, oh, I'll watch while you, and so just that sense of community, seeing people not obsess over work, like it's like,
Mm.
oh, I'm
That's
gonna sit at
huge.
the table with my family. We didn't sit
Yeah.
at the table. We never sat at the table, honestly. One, let me not say never. Rarely did we sit at the table to just eat and break bread together. And so, like, having a host family where we sit at the table and we eat together. And so that was like my first introduction to travel. And that made me go, oh, baby, we going everywhere. So we've been to South Africa, Bermuda, Jamaica, Bahamas. I'm like, take me, I want to go all the places. And so Bali was always on my list since I was 18. But when I saw how far it was, I was like, oh, honey, 24 hours. And I
Oh
just,
my God.
what was it? January? Was it January 2022? Or January? I think it was 2023. I was like, I'm taking this trip. And I booked my flight for September. It was January and I booked my flight for September. It was August, September. And I was like, I am going to take these 17 days, 16 days, and I am going to breathe and relax and explore. And it was everything. Oh my goodness. When I tell you I was treated like a queen, I got massages every day,
I
pedicure,
love that.
like the exchange rate is just so different. That
Mhm.
$10, you can have the most delicious, exquisite meal, glass of wine, everything. $8 a massage. And so just like what I had access to in this space, it also made me realize, here in America, you know, $8 don't get you much. It definitely won't
Mhm.
allow you to live like a queen. And so being able to be in a whole other environment. Are you able to still hear me? It's shaking a little bit on my end.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Being in this whole other environment where you just have, I just had access. Black women don't often have
Mhm.
access in this country. We have to fight for access. So to be in a
Mhm.
space where a lot of things were accessible to me, I got to experience food and culture and wellness and healing. Like I stayed at this beautiful resort. Being there just one day, I was literally like, oh, I got my money's worth. Like it was amazing. Like I can't wait to go back. I have told so many people you need to go to Bali. You need to go to Bali. You need to go to Bali. Like it was everything. Because I was treated the way we're supposed to be treated in general.
Mm. Mhm. That's been a realization for me too,
Mm,
being abroad, right? That this is the way I was supposed to be treated my entire life. Like, why
mm,
was I like pushed to the
mm,
margins, bullied, all these things that I
mm,
went through that like broke my self-esteem
mm,
little by little. Now I'm having to rebuild myself at
mm,
30, right? It's like being here, people treat you like you're human,
mm,
right? Like you
mm,
said, it's a collectivist
mm,
society, it's a
mm.
community-based society. What do you need? How can we like help each other
Yeah.
instead of just very hyper individual as in the US all the time, like people looking out for themselves?
Mm,
That's why it's often difficult to develop like deep relationships and friendships in the US. I'll speak from my experience because people are very like hyper focused on how can
mm,
this serve me? And I've just never been that type of person that's interested in that. So like being outside the US, I'm like, okay, other people. Not everyone operates like this. This
yeah.
has been like life changing to see that in real
Mm.
life. Hmm.
I love that. So once this lease ends in this apartment, trust me,
Hmm.
I'm going to take at least 2 months in another country. And I can't. So
Ooh.
you inspire me. You inspire me that you're there and you're living there. I don't know if
Hmm.
I want to live somewhere else just yet, but I know that experience. Yeah.
Hmm.
Sienna says,
Yeah.
same here. We getting out this country.
Yes.
At least for a month or two. We getting out. We getting out.
Yeah. And that's just so it's transformative because I came from a family too where no one traveled outside the US. I'm the first person in my immediate family to travel outside the
Mhm.
US. And so having people like question like, "You're safe? Are you gonna be safe?" It's like, "Have you seen what's going on, right, in the States?" It's like, "Yeah, I'll be safe." And just being here, it's like you realize a lot of these things are lies to try to keep us where we
Mhm.
are, right? To try
Mhm.
to keep us
Mhm.
like feeling stuck in this place where our spirit is calling for something much greater.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I do want to ask you about change, the
Mm.
topic of the discussion today, and just why you think change is so scary, right? Change is something that people often avoid. Fear is surrounding change a lot.
Yeah.
And just why do you think that is in your experience as a courage coach?
Yes. This is the thing that so many clients, so many people that I talk to, it's the fear of the unknown is what people are really afraid of because we don't have control.
Yeah.
And the truth is that majority of people, especially those of us who show up for a lot of people, who care for a lot of people, who are overachieving or people pleasing, there's a part of us who like control. We like to be in
Yeah.
control to some degree because it makes us feel safe. And for some people, it's trauma. For other people, it's personality. Other people, it's conditioning. There's so many reasons. But as human beings, all of us to some degree like to have some sense of control. And with the unknown changes, you don't know what's going to come.
That's
You don't
true.
know what's going to
Mhm.
happen next. You don't have control. And so there's a lack of safety that we feel internally. And the brain, I mean, the brain is like, oh no, something different. There's something foreign.
Mhm.
Let's go into protection mode. So this is why we self-sabotage the moments we start to move toward growth. You start
Yes.
going to the gym 2 days and then you tell yourself, oh, I'm good actually. I'm fine. Like your brain does these small things. Oh, actually, let's maybe start doing this thing. You're like, oh, I'm definitely gonna leave my job tomorrow. But then you're like, oh, well, my manager was nice to me today. It's like there are these things that we do internally to protect us from having to experience something different. Because our brain doesn't like anything outside the comfort zone. It's nothing wrong. People think it's something wrong with them. Oh, I'm so scared.
Mhm.
I'm like, girl, yeah, me too. It's not
Yeah.
being afraid, is that we shift our relationship to fear with fear. So I'm like, I'm not afraid of fear.
Mm.
Okay, okay. Fear of rejection. I see you. Hey, boo. I know you. I know you well. But you're not going to get in the way of me putting myself out there or pitching myself or something. So the fear is the fear of the unknown. If we can stop being afraid of fear and just start taking action. My big thing is my business is Heal with Keonna. We're
Mhm.
spending a lot of time journaling things through, but not taking action. Like reflect on it, spend some time on it. But if you keep reading all of your journals for the past 5 years and you're going through the same thing, now you have to do something different. And it's gonna feel scary. It really is. You can't get away from that. But if you can the way I describe it, this came to my mind like 2 nights ago, is like, I imagine it when I coach myself, because I coach myself Mondays at 2 o'clock. I imagine that rather than it's you jumping off of a cliff, is you like going down a slide. It's like
Mm.
you're thinking to get down there, it's going to require like, oh my goodness. But like, what if no? You just you just going right down. It's going to be a different experience. Yes, maybe your stomach might drop a little, but it actually might be fun. You actually may make
Ooh.
new friends or do something
Mhm.
exciting or learn a new thing about yourself. It's like if we can shift our thinking to be more exploratory, it's like this is a playground. I get to discover change is not, you're not meant to be the same person or stay in the same place your whole life. So if you actually want something different, it's being able to say, I'm willing to get it. I'm willing to start exploring myself, the world, what I enjoy. I'm like, I started skateboarding when I was like 25. Most people start when they're teenagers.
I
Like,
love it.
why
Mhm.
not? Why not? Sure, I might bust my ass. Okay. I'll do
Mhm.
knee pads. And I did once. I went to a skate park and I thought I could do an ollie and I couldn't. And I failed and I bust my knee and I still skateboard. It's like the fear is going to be there, but you just
Mm.
still, she said, you inside my brain right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, you just still keep going.
Yeah.
And that's what I've learned. I'm like, there's no quick fixes, just doing the thing. And I say, do it scared, do it scared. And then you'll find yourself. I used to be afraid to public speak. Now I
Mhm.
nothing in my body. I'm so at ease. Even before this, so at ease. I'm just like, we're gonna have a conversation. Because there's
Mhm.
nothing to prove. It's just an experience. I'm just gonna get to be an
Yeah.
experience with you. They're gonna get to experience me in this public speaking. They're gonna, it's shifting how we think. And when we do
Mhm.
that first, child, the rest of it is a breeze.
It is. Yeah, and that's so important, right? To embrace that exploration, like you said, the sense of play. Because
Mhm.
as I talk about on my channel, like being in a toxic work environment, things are very serious, right? It's very like you're sad a lot of times going into this every
Mhm.
day.
Yeah.
We know this is the case for Black women in corporate settings, like all throughout the US, the world, right? We're having to like put our identities, our true identities into a box to survive these environments. And so coming out of that can be a process, right? And inviting play back into your life
Mm.
in that sense of exploring. What do you like to do? What are you good at? And also like tapping into your authenticity, right?
Mhm.
Anything you want to share around that in overcoming or moving through fear and just knowing that who you are is enough.
Mhm. I can't talk about authenticity without talking about God. I
Hmm.
feel like the stronger you are spiritually, the more unshakable and unfuckwittable you are. It's like you just, if you know who you are and whose you are, and you don't know who you are until you know whose you are. So I think there's a lot of things happening internally because we're struggling with identity because we have identity rooted in the world and not in something beyond us. And so I always tell people, like, are you doing your spiritual practice? Are you spending time
Hmm.
being intentional? Are you taking time to be still? Are you taking time to pause? Are you checking in with little you? I can't lie. I had to check in with little Keonna and be like, boo, I cannot, yes. I
Yeah.
cannot. I'm sorry. I'm neglecting you. I need to spend time with you. And this is how I know that I'm healing. She literally was like, girl, I'm fine. She's like, go live. Go
I
live.
love it. Hmm.
I'm good. I'm solid
Hmm.
here. This is a safe place for me. And
Right.
so it's like being able to take time to tune into us, tune into little you, tune into higher you, because there's a higher version of us that we haven't
Yes.
accessed yet, that we get in
Mhm.
moments. We feel it too. You know, when you're
We
accessing your
do.
higher self, you start getting
Hmm.
feel. It's a visceral experience. And it's also the parts of us that are fragmented, that are still a little sharp, that we are afraid to look at and view, being able to be with that too. Because there are parts of me that I still have shame about from middle school, you know? And it's like,
Oh,
okay,
yes.
I see
Middle
you.
school is horrible.
Right? Middle school was just ratchet. It was ratchet and hopeless.
Hmm.
You know, it did its number on many
Hmm.
of us. But it's also like I still have to hold space for that part of me too. I can't just say, oh, I love the Keonna that has energy and is sociable and charismatic. I gotta also love the Keonna that is highly, highly sensitive who cries when her brain gets overwhelmed, who,
Yes.
all the bits and pieces is like having, but you have to spend time with you to be able to do that. And it's not always cute either. Like, first I'm like, ooh, for example, I had a hard conversation with my boyfriend, and I was just talking about my sister who passed away
Mhm.
and how I struggled to grieve. And I was ugly crying. I mean, girl, ugly,
Mm.
ugly crying. And I told him, I was like, "Ooh, this makes me feel really uncomfortable," because there was a level of vulnerability that I didn't really feel comfortable with. And this is my boyfriend. So I'm like,
Right.
I want to be able to be like, "Oh, it's easy," but there's still a part of me that wants to protect. There's a part of me that
Mhm.
still wants to have that image of, I don't even want you to see me ugly cry. you know,
Right. Yeah.
there's still some level of trauma or some level of self-protection there. And so it's like, oh, oh wow, there's still a part of me that's hurt, or there's a part of me that struggles to be vulnerable. Oh, okay, that's good to know. Okay, I'm gonna let myself ugly cry a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna let myself ugly cry a little bit more. Okay, now I just full on let it out. And he still helped me and was like, "Girl, I love you." And I'm like, "Oh, that's right. Like, we're still lovable, regardless.
Mm.
The hard
Mhm.
parts, the
Mhm.
sharp parts, the higher self, the little self, the all of it encompasses who we are, and it's all beautiful. There are people who literally can't wait to see those sharp parts of you because they're like, okay, I can hold that, but it's us being
Oh,
able
that's
to
beautiful.
hold that,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm. That's so true. That is so true. Yeah. And vulnerability,
Mhm,
something I'm working through as well.
mhm,
Those of us who have survived traumatic environments, right? It can be very hard to now bare your heart, your
mhm,
soul to people, which
mhm.
can like create difficulty cultivating relationships.
Yeah.
So in just working through that process and healing, like you said, like those childhood versions of yourself, who went through these experiences, right, of bullying, all the things that we've experienced during our lives, and
Mhm,
coming to this point and realize that we are an adult, we have agency. I think you mentioned something about our brains. I think
mhm.
that's important, something I try to do on my channel, like educating us about
Yeah.
how our brains are working behind the scenes when it comes to things like change or major life transformation.
Mhm,
Why that fear may pop up,
mhm,
right? And realizing that that doesn't mean stop, 'cause I think that's what we do a lot. When that fear pops up, it's like, "Okay, that means I just need to stay
mhm,
here." That's
mhm,
part of your brain's process, right, to protect yourself. So anything you wanna share around moving through that initial, like, shock
mhm,
when you start to change something in your life and how you can, like, take maybe, like, step by step
mhm.
towards the change that you desire in your life?
Yeah, I would give any person who is like navigating that, I would tell them to say to themselves, this is normal. Those 3 words,
Mm.
making that
Mhm.
a mantra, this is normal. We have to normalize the things we go through. I hear like clients and they're like, oh my goodness, Keonna, like, I just feel so afraid and I'm going back and forth. And I'm like, girl, that's every single person. I'm like,
Yeah.
they're like, I know last session I said I was gonna move to this place, but now I'm thinking I want to do this. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Like, that's normal. We
Yeah.
think because we battle so much internally and it's so complicated to us, we think it must be so like, I'm like, yeah, yeah, that's actually probably 95% of the population feels the exact same way as you. And so
Yeah.
I think just those 3 words, telling yourself that as you go through it and recognizing that, like, yeah, this is a part of it. And that you don't have to, that doesn't have to change for you to still do the thing. That you don't have to
That's
wait
very true.
until some people might think, oh, so for an example, I'm a full-time entrepreneur and people go, well, I want to wait until I have all the degrees and I want to wait until I have 1 million followers and I want to wait until, and I'm the type of person where I'm like, I ain't waiting. I don't even tomorrow. So I have today. I want to do
Yeah.
it today. So I'm gonna do it today. Ooh, that feeling in my stomach. Ooh, I'm not sure. But then I have peace as I'm moving toward it. Okay, that means I'm moving in the right direction. Well, let me just keep going. And if you say this is normal and then you focus on one step at a time. So if you look at, is 50 stairs in front of you, steps in front of you.
Mhm.
You looking at the top and you go, child, I just went for a walk with my mom. Literally, she was like, child, And I was like, look at just the step right ahead. That's all.
Mm.
Take that step. Okay, then what's the next one? Take that step. Before you know it, you halfway there. Okay, take more. Take another. Take another. Take another. Oh, I'm sweating, Keonna. Am I doing something wrong? No, this is normal. Take a step. Take a step. Take a step. And next thing you know, you're there, and you're like, oh wow, I'm here.
Mm.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
not that scary, and it's not that bad, and it wasn't as hard as I thought, or it was that hard, and I'm real proud. I'm really proud of myself for doing it.
I love that. I love that. And yeah, just to like piggyback on that, like regression, something
Mm,
I've talked about on my channel, like the cycle of change, right? Which
mm,
is a model that is used in mental health spaces. But
mm,
every time you go around this cycle, right, you're upcycling basically. You're going upwards. So where you were before is not where you are now.
mm,
And part of change is regression, maybe taking a few step backwards and then you'll take a leap forward.
mm,
So for people who may be feeling like they took a step backwards and now they can't change anything, right? They're feeling stuck,
mm.
recognizing that's part of the process. So anything you want to share around people who may feel stuck because they've went backwards a few steps.
Hire someone.
Mhm.
Someone. It took me like 4 years to actually start getting to the point where I was like, oh, I'm gonna actually get help. So I like coached myself with my own support system. And I'm like, girl, you're trying to build a house with your bare hands. There are people who have already built houses before.
Yeah.
Knock on their door and be like, hey, do you like, can you share your blueprint with me? Oh, yeah, I do this for a living, actually. I'll show you exactly how to build a house. We spend a lot of time trying to figure things out that people have already figured out. There's a coach who can help you with that. There's a therapist who specializes in that. There's a person who wants to be a mentor to you. There are resources available. And I don't mean hire someone just from a monetary sort of place. Hey,
Mhm.
it's hire someone in the sense, hire your best friend to be your accountability partner. Hire someone. And I
Mhm.
say hire because maybe you're not giving them money, but take your friend to lunch. If they out here trying to help you, make sure you stay on task. Support them as well. Something that's reciprocal. Um, and so that's what I would say. Stop trying to do it all on your own. Hire somebody. Pay for that coach.
Mhm.
But
That's free.
vet them first.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's important too. That's important. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and yes, that's so true. Black women so used to being super women and
Mhm.
doing everything alone, it ain't necessary. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and just realizing that you don't have to like navigate everything that you want to do, the change that you want to make all by yourself. And a lot of times we're socialized to view it as if we don't do it ourselves, it doesn't count,
Mm,
right? And trying to like unlearn that
mm,
belief of living in the US, living in the West. It's like, no, that's not true. We
mm,
are communal beings, right? We learn from each other in community, just like even being on YouTube, right? The community that I've been able to be a part of other Black women sharing their stories. I've learned so much, and
mm,
that has informed the journey that I'm on so I don't have to start from square one, everything that I want to do.
yeah.
I think that's so powerful. Do you want to share anything around like the power of sharing our stories and
Mm,
what we've been through so that other people can learn from our
mm.
journeys who may be struggling?
Yes, that has actually been my practice lately. So, in the beginning of me starting my business, I primarily focused on holding space for other people's healing. And I would share my story in bits, but I never quite tell people the whole story, my whole story of transformation. And I realized because I didn't want to be vulnerable completely, I'd be vulnerable in a way that is safe for me. Oh, I've been
Yeah.
talked about that thing. Yeah, here you go. But in a way that truly showed my full humanity, that showed the raw parts of me, I didn't want to do that completely. And I don't think it's always necessary to. But I think for me personally, in work where you are a healer or if you own a business, people care. People really care to hear like how you got here. People want to know what your journey was. They want to know that time you scraped your knee. They want to know that time when you won that award. They want to know that time when you experienced the grief and that time when you had like the best hug of your life. You know, all these little details. It's what makes us human. And I would
Yeah.
say, actually, me finding the confidence to tell my story allowed my business to expand and grow so much more. Because then people don't just think, at first, people were like, I don't know exactly what she does, but she helped people. you know, she does something important, but I don't know
Yeah.
exactly what it is. And now I'm starting to see how people are piecing together. Oh, you make sure that folks don't experience burnout. Oh, I know that you support Black women and chain makers. Oh, I know that you are someone that's committed to helping us heal, but you're also healing. People start to understand it more because they hear your story. And the moment I started sharing my story, particularly on stages, doing speaking engagements, being keynote speakers, also
Right.
as a coach, we all should be speaking and sharing our story if we want to, because not only is it great revenue, but it's a great opportunity to really impact the lives of a lot of people in one sitting. And so, if that's something you're in need of, I
Mm-hmm.
would encourage you. I wish I didn't wait until year 5 to start doing speaking engagements in this way because it's been incredible. Um, but it's like the best way to build community because no one cares how perfect you are. They really don't. No one cares how perfect you are at all.
Ooh.
Want to see your humanity. They want to see your heart. They want to see your journey, which is why, when people are starting off, they're building this community, and sometimes they get to a certain point, and then people can't relate to them in the same ways. Or now they're trying to keep up the look of
Right.
I got it, I figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
People don't want that. They still want to know about when you were on the couch. And you don't have to always relive that. I think sometimes we tell that one sob story and that becomes our story because we think transformation can only happen if it's an underdog or a low to high experience. It doesn't have to be that. It's just sharing the journey that you're on, the journey
Mm.
that got you to where you are. Um, and don't practice in front of the whole world before you practice with the people that are closest to you.
Ooh. That's great advice. Yeah. Yeah. Ooh. And that just makes me reflect on my own journey of sharing my story, right? Of exiting a toxic job, the raw moments when I had no idea what I was doing. I'm like, but it was cathartic for me to
Mm,
put it out there in the open because it was like the environment I was in was there was so much fear
mm,
around me speaking up and sharing my story. It's like I disintegrated that little by little by sharing my journey and then building community with other Black women who are also healing from a toxic job experience, right? And realizing that I wasn't alone. And so that can help those feelings of isolation.
yeah.
When you get to that point where you feel ready to start sharing your story, other people will be drawn to you naturally who can relate to you,
Mhm,
right? I think that's powerful energy to create. Yeah.
mm. It is
Hmm.
powerful for us in our own healing because
Hmm.
our stories matter. As a Black woman, my story matters. My
Yeah.
story matters not to just someone else, but it matters just because I exist and my journey, regardless of what happened. I don't have to have gone through a traumatic experience for my story to matter. You can say, yeah, I grew up in the suburbs. My mom and dad were there, and we had a beautiful upbringing, and I was good to go. Please tell me that. Some of us need to hear that you can, you know, grow up in a household where you have your parents there. Maybe you had two moms, maybe you had two dads. You had two parents. Maybe you had an auntie and an uncle who raised you, but you felt completely full in your heart
Right.
and you didn't experience trauma or feel neglected. You are securely attached. Yes, I'm so
Yeah.
glad. Tell that story. It don't always have to be hardship. Our stories
Hmm.
matter. All of us, all of our stories matter. And the
They
more we
do.
saying, not just this is who I am, or this is what I've gone through, but these are bits and parts of me. And the story is still continuing. And
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
gonna give y'all each chapter, the ones I want to give y'all, or at least I'm gonna give it to myself. I know the chapter I'm in. And then maybe the people closest to me, and then maybe you know, if I want to share it on a platform somewhere to find my people, maybe I write a book. There's so many ways to do it, just in your
Right.
journey. But they matter, yeah.
They do.
Hmm.
Yes, and Kyoka says, "Yes, we need to hear varied experiences." I agree.
Hmm.
I agree. Yep. Yeah. And what you mentioned about perfectionism, I would love to like go back to that point because a lot of us are stuck in perfectionist mode.
Mhm.
I think you mentioned even with entrepreneurship, right? I need to have all these certifications, all these degrees, all these followers before I start.
Mhm.
How do we begin to like unlearn that idea of
Mhm.
perfectionism? Because that keeps us stuck in when we want to change
Mhm.
something. We want to go a different path. We want to do something different, but we feel like we don't have X, Y, and Z to even go on that path.
Mhm.
And everything has to be perfect before we even start. What
Mhm.
advice would you give to someone who's dealing with that sense of perfectionism that's keeping them stuck?
Yes. Well, I would say, hey, I'm in the club with you.
Yeah.
I'm not even going front and act like that is an experience. Hi
Yeah.
there. Yeah, I'm not gonna try to act like that's not something that I navigate through. Like I am a recovering overachiever, people
Me
pleaser.
too.
I know. Like I was that student who was like, I'm gonna make this perfect. My project is gonna have glitter and you okay?
That's me.
I was that. I was that person. Don't give me a presentation to make. I'm gonna make sure
Oh,
that is our
yes.
and I'm gonna add a new font there. And I don't play about that stuff. Like I
Yeah.
created my own website. I have made
Mhm.
3 different. I'm literally just working on a new one now. I I can't help myself. So I don't know how to cure perfectionism. But what I
Mhm.
know how to make it not get in the way of you move forward. So one thing that I have been telling myself is what I have is enough.
Mhm.
So even while
Mhm.
I'm still working on this upgraded website, I'm still sending healwithkiana.com to people. So I think what we do too much is we go, it's not ready. You know, I can't let you see my
Yes.
masterpiece until it's completely done and perfect. I'm practicing, even though I'm still trying to get it perfect because I know that's still in me, still sharing, still sharing along the way. And so for that person who is like, girl, that perfectionism is strong, it's strong on me. It's strong on me.
Yes.
I would
Yes.
say practice sharing it first in safe places. So like I do some things to my boyfriend, like, what do you think about
Mhm.
this rendition of my website? And I'm sure he like, girl, if you send me another website, I'm gonna I'm gonna like tell you to stop, but he doesn't. But having a safe place, whether it's a business bestie, and I'm speaking in the terms of business because my perfectionism is more in business because I own a business. But for other people, it may be you're trying to write the most perfect email. Personally, I love Chat GPT, or I'd be like,
Yes.
rewrite
Mhm.
this. Ain't nobody got time for that at this point. But yeah, using your resources, the people around you, the apps, the tools to help you get things where you want it to be. But the thing is, even if you don't get there or on your way there, still share.
Mhm. Mhm. Sharing your journey in process.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's powerful,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because a lot of us, as we talked about, feel like we have to have everything perfect before we launch, before we like show other people what we're doing. And if you can show like your process, like you said, with safe people
Mm-hmm.
first, because we know the internet is not always like the safest place to put your process out there. Although
Right.
I feel like the community of Black women on YouTube, like Black women YouTubers, have created that safe space, right, to try different things, to go on live because we're in the chat all the time, like, get it, like, go.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's not always that safe place. So to find those people who support you, who uplift you, who encourage you while you're trying to make like a major transformation, a life change, trying to put yourself out there more, I think that's so powerful. And I
Yeah.
see Kyoka here says, or you could hire a copywriter. That too. And Kyoka is a copywriter. Yes.
Like I
Yes.
said, hire somebody. Hire somebody. That is
Yes.
important.
That is so true. But I do want to ask the radical act, right, of putting ourselves first. Why
Mm.
is this a radical act for Black women, given the history, right, of the US, if that's where you're from, the world? We know that anti-Blackness, misogynoir is worldwide. Why is this a radical act to say, no, I'm putting my wellness, my rest, my peace first before anyone and anything else, and
Mm.
really sitting in that? Anything you want to share about that?
Yes. Well, I believe we all will agree that it's a radical act. Um,
Mhm.
because, like you said, the history is that we learn that we have to make sure that we're always tending to other people, that we have to be masculine in the sense that we have to take care of things. We also have to be feminine in the sense we have to take care of people. And so we have to hold all of the things for other people, and we hold our own bricks, but we also want to make sure that everybody else's bricks are taken off their shoulders, and then we pile more on. And so we are carrying a lot.
Mhm.
And to be able to say, this is not mine to carry, is the radical act. That story, that belief system, that job, that the things that people project onto us, responsibilities that are not ours, to say that doesn't belong to me.
Right.
And, sometimes I'm really big on putting yourself first and in the most collectivist way possible. Is that I truly believe that when we put ourselves first and we actually tune into ourselves and heal ourselves, the relationships that we have, the way that we show up in our communities, it is so much more transformative. We are
Yeah.
big on talking because of the society we live in, is that we say all the things. We say the right things, but we don't do the things that we say. And so when you put yourself first, you start doing first. And then people can see based on how you move, not based on what you say. And so that's my big thing is like, I want Black women to sit down collectively, all of us, sit down. We're going to collectively just sit down.
Yeah.
Like, what is the advice? What are the top 3 pieces of advice that I give to other people? And then ask yourself, am I practicing all 3 of those?
Mm.
Tell everybody, did you drink your water, boo? Now ask yourself, do I drink my water daily? You tell everybody, you make sure you take those PTO, those days off. Are you taking your PTO? You tell everybody, you better put your head up high and be confident when you walk into that space. Are you doing that? For those things that are crucial to what you believe in and you share with other people, are you practicing that? And that's the radical act. Because
Mm.
change really happens when you don't just say the thing. You come into a space and be like, yeah, I'm about it. I practice what I preach. I can speak to you from experience. And when Black women, we know a lot. When we start being about what we know and believing what we know, which means we're practicing it, we already, I mean, Black women are the businesses we're building at rates higher than anything
Mhm.
else. We are at
Mhm.
the forefront of innovation, education, entrepreneurship. Like we are. And so knowing that we have all these responsibilities that we place on ourselves to change the world. But if we say, let me pause and change me first to give myself that thing that I'm trying to give to the world.
Yeah.
Oh, the world has no choice but to get it because that's going to be who you are. So that's why for me it's a radical act. Like I'm
Mm.
not going to tell y'all to take care of yourselves if I'm out here raggedy. I cannot do that. I can't because that's not
Yeah.
being authentic or honest. I'm telling you because I know it's true, but I'm not practicing it. And so, yeah, that's why it's important to.
Mm.
Because honestly, I think the only way the world can actually change if we start actually being about what we're talking about. And if we actually can get off of social media for a bit and just practice some of the things that we're sharing,
Yes.
we'll collectively be so much better. And that's not a dig. I'm saying that for myself. I'm on a cleanse right now. I literally had to get on the social media platform just to tell people, oh, hey, y'all, I'm on this. I'm having this conversation. I'm deleting the app after this. Okay. Because I'm like, I know that I want to have my space to make sure Keonna is good, that Keonna is healed, that
Right.
I'm taking care of myself and not just centering the well being of everyone else. And so
Mm.
that's my daily practice. It's what I encourage, and that's what I invite my clients, but also all the people that I get to share a message with is
Right.
like embodiment. If you don't do anything, embody the things that you believe in, the things that you share with your community.
Mm. That's powerful. That is powerful. Yeah. And shout out to Alicia Renice on YouTube. Her sharing your medicine is also for you, right?
Mm,
Those of us who are healers who have these gifts of
mm,
sharing messages with other people, coaches who are
mhm,
helping people transform their life.
mhm.
We're not just giving our clients information, right? What flows through us is something that we also need.
Mhm,
So like taking those messages on,
mhm,
right? Because those are divine, right?
mhm,
So sitting with those before you share them, and I feel like yes, taking breaks from social media is so needed.
mhm,
Just like the fast pace, the algorithm, all these things that we can get caught up in. And like you said before, realizing we're not of this world and
mhm,
really sitting in that, right?
mhm.
Our power exists beyond these apps,
Yeah.
beyond any of these like creations. But we are divine.
Mm,
And sitting in that energy, I feel like can do a lot for authenticity, for trusting yourself, for the change that you're looking to make. Realizing that
yeah.
you are powerful beyond measure. Yeah.
Mhm,
Yes.
mhm.
And I see a comment from Donna saying, yes, perfection is to showcase excellence, whereas mediocre is average, mediocre is bland. Yeah, yeah, that's how it's portrayed, right, in
Mhm,
society a lot. But yeah, being human, that's what people resonate with, not
mhm,
this like robotic version that we're told that we have to be,
mhm,
especially again in corporate environments in the work setting, that we have to show up without flaws,
mhm,
right? We know like the pressure that is on us in these places can really do a number on our psyche. And so once we have space out of that, even if you're still in it, carving out time for yourself, space for yourself to be you, to reconnect with the activities that bring you joy, your little self. What did your little self like to do? And reconnecting with that is powerful as well. Yeah. I do want to ask how we trust. You mentioned that feeling that we have sometimes in our bodies.
mhm,
How do we trust that feeling that we have that it's time to make a change and
mhm,
go forward with that, even if our minds are telling us, right, what our brains do, try to protect us during this process?
mhm,
Going with that feeling that no, something feels off
mhm,
and going towards that instead.
mhm. I want to make sure I understand the question. So,
Hmm.
how do we trust the feeling when it's going against something, or how do we trust the feeling when it's going in the direction? Is that feeling telling us no, or is that feeling telling us yes, or both?
Mm, both. Both. I think both are important. Yeah. Anything you like to share?
Hmm. I actually have written. I have a massive dry erase board in my room, and
I love dry erase.
it's the teacher in me. I'm like, I like to see these messages. And one of the things that I always want to remind myself is to listen to my body and listen,
Mhm.
because it could be something super small. I might be like, oh, I want to watch an episode of Suits. And then all of a sudden I just feel something in my body like, no, that's not what our spirit needs right now. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I was really looking forward to that episode, but I'm gonna listen. And then I go for a walk. And then while I'm on that walk, I see a friend. And wow, if I would have watched that episode, I would have missed this interaction. It's like we've already, everything that we're supposed to do is like it's already predestined. And it's like our bodies are trying to guide us toward the direction we're supposed to go into. But the beauty is
Mhm.
this beautiful existence that we're in, that we still don't, we're not always, it's not a wrong. If I would have watched Suits, it wouldn't have meant that I was wrong, because something would have still guided me to exactly where I was supposed to be. So one thing that I've been doing lately is stop thinking that there's a right or a wrong. I can go left or right, and if I go the wrong way, I'm doomed. It's every time I'm going to try to do my best to listen,
Mhm.
do my best to decode what it's trying to tell me. And sometimes I'm going to get it wrong. Sometimes I'm going to get it right. But I want to just fine tune my sensitivity to it so that I can pay attention to it and I can make a choice. And sometimes I'll
Mhm.
have that feeling and I'm like, I might be making the wrong choice, but I'm gonna watch that Suits. Let me see what this episode talking about. It it's
Yes.
not putting the pressure on ourselves to always get it right. It's just getting more sensitive. And for me, it's the Holy Spirit. It's I want to hear what you're trying to guide me toward. That like I was
Mhm.
meditating, and then I heard one of my old clients' names in my head, and I just texted them saying like, "Oh my goodness, I just want to say how appreciative I'm." Like, they're one of my favorite clients ever. Don't tell the rest of my clients this, but they're one of my favorite clients ever. And I was just like, I'm just so grateful because not only are you a client, but you're a friend, you're a comrade, you're a pal. And then they were
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my goodness, I was just going to reach out to you today so that I can get back on your books to be a client again. And I was like, oh, and they were like, this was confirmation. And I was like, I felt
Wow.
it in my spirit. Like I already knew it. Something in me already knew that we were meant to come back into this moment and figure out how I can support you in this season of your life. And they're sharing all their good news. And I'm like, I just love to see. I love to see when people are thriving and they're still like, ooh, I still want you close. I still
Right.
want to figure out, how can I still grow with you? And it was all from just like tuning in and listening, being able to pay attention to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
being able to have that sensitivity and listening to that, I think is crucial.
I love that. Yes, and Marilyn says, truth and spirit. Thank you. Yeah. And that's something on my healing journey I've had to pay attention to, right? Because always having this gift of having downloads from spirit, I'm like, this is guiding me in the direction that I need to go.
Mhm.
And heeding that,
Yeah.
I think that's so important.
Mhm.
And like you said, like taking the pressure off yourself that if you go left or right, it's going to be the wrong decision, right? Yeah. It's like, it'll get you there. It'll get you there either way. I think that's beautiful.
There we go. That's the word right there. It'll get
Yeah,
you there either way.
it
you
will.
you cannot fail. You're putting the pressure on yourself, telling yourself, I have to do this a particular way. And if I don't do it a particular way, then I failed. No, you didn't.
Hmm.
You're gonna have so many opportunities. Keep going. Again,
Keep
take that
going.
first step.
Hmm. Yes, absolutely. But yes, I want to ask as we're winding down, if you could go back and tell your younger self what you know now, what advice would you give to her? Anything you'd share with little you?
Trying to get that. Okay. Ooh, what advice would I give to little Keonna? You're the bomb, girl. Girl, I'd be like, girl, don't pay attention to them. They don't get that. You're the bomb. You take a lot of things personally, and I get it. You have such a sensitive heart, and honey,
Hmm.
you are all of that. Like undeniably lovable.
I love that. I
Mhm.
love that.
No
And yeah,
advice,
those of us,
affirm her.
yeah. Ooh, that's important. Those of us with really sensitive spirits, right? Our feelings get hurt very easily. And I know this has been the case for me throughout my whole life, just realizing that nothing was wrong with me. I'm
Yes,
actually sensitive for a reason because I'm a healer,
yes.
right? I'm very sensitive to people's energies,
Mhm.
what they need. So that helps me in the role that I'm in now and realizing that that's nothing that's wrong with me. In the society that we grow up in, right? A lot of the times we're told we have to put on armor. We have to like be strong and hard. It's like, no, we're sensitive. And
Yep.
leaning into that in what gifts do you have with that sensitivity and how can you embrace those? I think that's beautiful. Yeah. Hi, Rabia. Good to see you here. Yes. But I'd like to ask how people can continue to follow your journey online and also connect with you for coaching and then any offers that you'd like to share with us.
Absolutely. So my business is Heal with Keonna. You can see Keonna Knight at Heal with Keonna. If you
Oop, I might be frozen, y'all. It might be my Wi Fi. Give us 1 second. But yes, thank y'all so much for commenting, sharing your experiences as well in the chat as we're waiting for Kiana. And Donna says, but social media is my community and neighborhood. That's a really important point. How do you set boundaries? And oh, there we go. There we go.
okay,
Yes. Yes. You're back. You're back. Yeah.
I like that. I see, but social media is my community and neighborhood. Then you live in
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
You live in it. That's the message that I just
Yes.
pop up. How can people connect with me? So
Yes.
healwithkeonna.com. You go on the website, at the very bottom, there's also a pop up. It's basically saying, hey, join us. Be a part of our community where I share sometimes too personal stories around how I'm healing, where I share resources and classes, and just encouragement, giving you a pep talk to not only get you through the day, but to give you that like push of like, yes, I can do it. I can courageously move toward that thing that I want. And giving you those little sprinkles of tools to help you get through. And then also, I wanted to provide to this space, the first 5 people will have a free consultation call with me. And so I'm very big on, I don't want to just share gems. I want people to be able to get that direct support. And so if you're someone like, girl, you've spoken to my life. I have a very specific situation or experience that I'm navigating, and I need someone to support me. Maybe you're looking for a coach. You're looking for someone who can really like hold you accountable. The first 5 people, you got me. And so again, this is only limited for the folks who are in this space. But wanting to offer that for people who are like, I really resonated with what was shared. And if it feels like a spiritual thing, there's something in you that wants more. That's where you can go, not just to the newsletter, but to actually spend some time with me.
I love that. Yes. So yes, y'all, please scan this QR code if you are interested in working with Keonna. But yes, as we're winding down, any last words that you'd like to share with the audience tonight?
I would love to guide us through a simple practice of breath.
Yes.
And so I want to invite anyone who's still here to maybe place their feet on the ground if that's accessible to you. And I want you to just roll your shoulders back, and I want you to sit up a little taller because you are powerful. And so really position yourself in a moment where you're tuning into that power, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing that space in between the eyebrows, and relaxing the jaw. And I want to invite you to just take a moment to be still, to notice how you're breathing, noticing if the breath is short and shallow or long and slow. And rather than judging it, can you just be with what is? Just allow the breath to come in and out. Whatever thoughts are showing up, just giving yourself room to be. And then on your next inhale, I want to invite you to find a slow, deep breath into the belly. When you exhale, I want you to let something go. On your next breath in, breathe in something that you need today. And when you exhale, let something go that is not moving you toward the life you are called to live. Let it go. We'll take 2 more. Breathing in courage, power, peace, freedom, whatever it is that you need. When you exhale, let go of that worry, that anxiety, that fear. Take 1 more and allow this breath to be the most nourishing breath you've taken in all day, a moment for you. And when you exhale, I want you to just let something out, let something go. There is something that you're holding or carrying that does not belong to you. I want to give you permission in this moment to let it go, to put it down, and to decide in this moment, what new thing are you going to pick up from this conversation? What new thing are you going to practice? And maybe you just say it in your own heart. I know my thing that I'm going to practice is being vulnerable and sharing my story even more. And I would love to know for you, Marissa, what's the new thing that you picked up that you're going to practice for you in your own healing, your own courage, your own business boss journey?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think vulnerability as well for me, because that's been, although some people may find that surprising, I feel like I put a lot of my story on my channel. But there's still some parts that I'm like, I don't want to share that, right? Because I'm not at the place that I want to be. I'm not sure about the place where I am on my journey. And so it feels scary sharing that out loud. But
Mm,
like you shared tonight, it was like people need to hear that, and I also need to release that energy as well, because there may be some shame that I'm carrying around by not being able to express
yeah.
that I'm not like at the place that I want to be on this
Mm,
journey. And so that can
mm.
be freeing for me as well. So I think that's what I want to work on.
Well, we're doing it together, boo.
Yeah.
We're gonna be
Yeah.
vulnerable.
Clarify.
We're gonna be vulnerable together. And I just want to invite you were being vulnerable just by saying that. That was vulnerable.
Mm,
And so I
mhm.
just every person who's listening now who will listen later can really give themselves space to like really put something down and recognize it can actually be that easy. That you can just decide and make a conscious choice in this moment to just say, I'm putting that down. That's my commitment. I'm putting that down and I'm picking that up. Like I'm doing
Ooh.
that.
Mhm.
And that in itself is a powerful move.
I love that. I love that. I'm putting that down and I'm picking that up. We have agency throughout
Mhm.
this entire life experience, right? We have the agency to do something different, to make a change. And Keonna provided you with so many gems, us with so many gems tonight. So just thank you for being here, for being a lovely guest,
This was fun.
for being vulnerable,
Mhm.
right? Because we know that's not always easy, especially on YouTube. But this space here that we're able to cultivate, where we can feel comfortable sharing our journeys where we are, the things we've learned along the way, as y'all have shared in the chat tonight. Thank you for that. That's so special. That's so special. And we're building community as we change, as we make change and bravely go towards it. So
And we
thank you
in
for being
community now, boo. I'm like, we in community. So we're gonna keep this
Yes.
conversation going for sure.
Yes, I love it. Well, yes, y'all, thank you so much for being here tonight. Please subscribe to my channel. Please subscribe to Keonna's channel as well. Like this video, share it if it resonates, and comment down below sharing your experiences with change. We love to read them. All right, y'all, but I hope you have a beautiful rest of your night. And until next time, thank you for being here. Bye.